Also watching shares of Novo Nordisk this morning, the most valuable company in Europe, moving to the downside despite beating the street's profit expectations for the first quarter and more than doubling its sales of its blockbuster weight loss drug, Wegovy. For more on the pharma company's Q1 earnings, we've got Lars Jørgensen, who is the Novo Nordisk CEO and president, alongside Yahoo Finance senior health reporter Anjalee Khemlani. Anj, take it away.
Thanks, Brad. Hi, Lars. Welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really a good quarter, and obviously the drugs Ozempic and Wegovy really leading the beat that you had on those numbers. But we did also see the miss on Wegovy sales. I know that the price has been lowered and you've been ramping up manufacturing. Talk to me about all of that and how this is impacting the company.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me. We're quite encouraged about the Wegovy momentum in the US. It's right that we came a bit short compared to consensus. Now, I don't calculate consensus, but what I can see is that we ended fourth quarter with some 5,000-6,000 weekly new scripts, and we are now at around 27,000 new scripts on a weekly basis for people starting treatment on Wegovy. So we guided that we would be increasing the starter doses, and that's exactly what is happening. And we see that that turns into a very nice uptake in scripts, and that's very encouraging for the coming quarters. And it's really a proof that we're gradually ramping up manufacturing and bringing that to patients in the US market.
And you highlighted the lower price of Wegovy that we're now seeing. What is driving that price decrease? And also, will manufacturing impact that in the future, or was this a one-time reduction to sort of meet competitors?
Yeah, you have to be careful about judging pricing on just a single quarter. What we typically see in the US marketplace is that you give rebate enhancements year over year. And obviously, there's also a competitive product now in the market. So we see a slight erosion in pricing. That's not much different compared to what we have seen on other medicines. So it's really about the significant volume opportunity that we are ramping manufacturing. We are getting more scripts, and we're helping many more patients deal with their obesity. And I think that's intact, very exciting growth story.
You also had other good news this quarter with the expansion label for Wegovy for cardiovascular benefit. Have you seen that increase in coverage from insurers, from Medicare? What are you hearing?
Yeah, that's truly exciting, and it proves that when you use semaglutide, our molecule, it's actually resulting in more than weight loss. And the label we have agreed with the agency also talks to that there's a unique mechanism here. And you can say a tangible sign is that we are now actually selling into, say, the CMS part of business where obesity medicine has not been available in the past. But the fact that there is this cardioprotective profile of our medicine, Wegovy, means that we are now actually also in the government channels. So that is already paying off and expanding the market opportunity for us.
Speaking of the government, I know there's many different avenues in which the government has its eye on Novo. First, you've got the investigation by Senator Bernie Sanders. We've also heard potential for Ozempic to enter Medicare negotiations as part of the IRA sometime later in the decade, as well as the FTC's warning letter about the junk patents for Ozempic and other drugs under Novo. What can you tell us about all this and how you're handling these? And is it really posing as strong headwinds for the company?
Well, maybe address them one by one. I don't really like the terminology junk patents because I think we have very good patents and we are ethical in how we patent our products. The particular FTC questioning is in relation to whether our device patents should be on the so-called Orange Book listing with the agency. We have tried to follow what we believed was what the requirement in terms of listing the patents covering the products we have on the market. So it's important for me to underline this is not linked to the compound patent, the basic molecule. And honestly, we can live without the patent on devices being listed on the Orange Book. There's nobody doubting whether the patents are true or not. In terms of pricing, I'd also like to use this opportunity to tell that when you look at a product like Ozempic, our type 2 diabetes medicine launched in 2018, year over year, we have realized a lower price. And we are actually realizing a price today that's some 40% lower than when we launched the product. So there's a lot of talk about list pricing in the US, but really what companies compete on is a price after rebates, fees, discounts, whatever. And there we are actually giving the product at a price point that's 40% lower than when we launched. There's a lot of complexities, I acknowledge that. So I think it's important to get into the details of these to get a true and fact-based discussion around price development in the US market.
Fair enough. Looking at, you also have Denmark that has started to block access or restrict access starting in November. What does that tell you about sort of the focus on pricing of this drug right now?
Well, I think it illustrates that each and every country is different in how they manage medicines and how what are the requirements for having been on, say, other medicines before you start, the latest innovation. And in Denmark, there is a wish to have patients testing out some of the, say, less efficacious medicines before you go on the high efficacious medicine, and we respect that. There are other countries having similar requirements. For us, it's important to underline that type 2 diabetes, obesity is typically progressive diseases where patients over time needs to have more and more efficacious medicine. And that's where we come in with products that are highly efficacious and actually now also proving to prevent kidney disease, cardiovascular disease, and we're also testing out a number of other indications. I think that adds to the totality of the value on being on these medicines. And in the meantime, we scale up manufacturing to get to more and more patients. And I think that's something we are quite pleased with.
Absolutely, yeah, we're going to have to watch that manufacturing. You're increasing the demand so much. And finally, as Brad mentioned at the start, you are looking at your shares down right now. What do you think investors are looking for the Novo Nordisk story?
I think it's really one about coming out a bit short on consensus estimate for Wegovy. Wegovy obviously being a key driver, but I think it's really about when did we get the starter doses ramped up during the beginning of the year, and we have done that now, and we see that a number of scripts are really ticking up. So I'm quite confident that our growth outlook for the year, which is very robust, I would say, that is intact, and we are very comfortable in what our innovation does, our ability to ramp and get to many more patients, and thereby also deliver the broad health benefits that comes from treating both type 2 diabetes and obesity.
Well, certainly no small feat to be quintupling your prescriptions in just a few short months and the sales that go with it. We'll have to leave it there for now. Lars Jørgensen, Novo Nordisk CEO, thank you so much for joining us.